What is going on, all my haunted followers? I just want to say hello to all my new subscribers. Guys, if you haven't done this yet and you're watching this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. I upload videos every Friday. I'm always going to upload some creepy stories that you can sit back and listen to. These are 5 cryptid encounters. Cryptids is definitely my favorite subject besides ghosts. I think cryptids are awesome. These stories that were sent in to me were absolutely amazing. I especially love the story about the Thunderbird. My favorite. Guys, sit back and prepare to be scared. I want to put a warning out there for anyone who thinks like the way I did. I will just grab my gun and go do some Skinwalker hunting, as you will always be on the losing side of things. Back last summer, when this whole Skinwalker obsession started, a former military friend and I got a bright idea. We would hunt down a Skinwalker. We had seen several videos and movies about them. At that time, I just laughed at them, thinking, no way will these things take 80 rounds of a 5.56 to the head. And my friend suggested and agreed that we could go hunt for these things, as supposedly talking about them brings them about. Again, something we both thought was nothing but a joke. So we did everything you're supposed to do. Talk about them, cast a curse upon yourself, leave out rotting meat, etc. Weeks went by and nothing. I just thought, these things don't exist, and it's nothing but a stupid joke. I was horribly wrong. One night, I was just sitting out on the deck, by myself, drinking a beer, and this ungodly smell of rot started to fill the air. I can't even begin to describe how putrid this smell was, like taking several dead animals and tossing them into a septic tank. I know that sounds gross, but the smell was absolutely horrible. I literally threw up. So I go inside and end up losing everything I just ate. I walked into the kitchen to grab a bottle of water, and the smell was coming inside the house. So I grabbed a painter's mask and a flashlight. I walked outside, scanning my backyard, expecting to find something dead. That's when my flashlight hit something in the tree line. At first, I just thought it was a massive buck or something, but as I flashed my light at it, it was all wrong. It was a buck, but its body was of a dog or something, just far more massive, and this thing was standing on its back legs. I could literally see its ribs as it looked like it hadn't eaten in months. I could see the face was half falling off, its bony skull, and its breathing was all off as well. Then it spoke. Believe now. I freaking ran so fast to my house. I could hear this thing inches behind me. I slammed the door, and this thing just smashed right into the door, nearly knocking off its hinges. I ran to my room, grabbed my AR, and ran back to the kitchen. I was expecting to find it inside the kitchen, but nothing was there. So I step outside, my rifle to my shoulder. I'm scanning, and I'm not seeing anything. So then I turn around, and it's near the side of the house, and it quickly started to run for me again. So I opened fire, quickly spinning through 30 rounds. It didn't even flinch. It still came at me. I dropped to my knees at that point, begging, please God, please no. Then it was gone. Just like that. It was gone. I dropped to the ground crying. I was in absolute shock. Several minutes later, I got up enough courage to walk back to the house. About an hour later, I got a call from my buddy's girlfriend that he had been attacked by some wild animal. He was going to be okay, but he had gotten pretty messed up in the scuffle. Weeks had gone by, and he was finally released from the hospital. 4 broken ribs, a shattered disc in his back, and multiple lacerations. He told me everything, and it scared the crap out of me what he told me. He confirmed that some beast-looking creature, half deer, half dog, had caught him off guard and attacked him while he was jogging through the woods. Please, Anyone thinking of confronting these things, don't. Hey, Unexplained Films, do I have a cryptid story for you? This story actually happened to me several weeks ago, and ever since then, I've been looking for answers. Several weeks ago, I had taken to an overnight shift. I'd work 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's not the best shift, but the pay differential was amazing. So I did the shift with ease, as I've done it before, as I know a few will question my sleep status or question if I was tired or just seeing things. I would also like to put it out there, I'm not a user of drugs or do I drink, so let's just knock that out of the line of questions. I'm sure I will be asked, rather I've been asked, because everyone I've shared this story with has questioned this. I beg you, try to be open-minded when listening to the story. So, getting back, I was driving home. I live about 20 to 30 minutes away. I live in a very rural town. I was just driving. I was probably going no more than 30 miles an hour when my eyes caught something walking in the road. At first, I really thought it was someone wearing a Halloween costume. However, I couldn't imagine anyone wanting to do this, and the fact that it had to be no more than 3 to 4 feet tall. It was all white. Again, I would say 3 feet tall. At first, I only saw its backside as I was driving up on it. As I got closer, this thing stopped and turned its head and looked at me. It had the biggest black eyes I've ever seen, with these massive looking claws and these massive looking sharp teeth. I slammed on my brakes and nearly went off the road. Then, it made this god awful screeching sound and ran towards my car. I just froze up in absolute fear. I just closed my eyes, waiting for this thing to smash through my window. As it moved so fast, but I was wrong. It just ran up my hood, ran the top of my roof. I quickly looked into my rearview mirror and saw this thing run into the woods. I punched the gas and peeled out of there. I don't understand what the hell that was. Does anyone have any idea what I saw? I don't know how I stumbled upon your YouTube, but I watched your video about the Thunderbird and I want to share my story. I hope you include this one. My name is Jamie, and this happened to me in the fall, or sometime around there. As my hometown, it was open turkey season. My dad and I are avid hunters, and I have hunted my entire life. Now, before this event, I have never heard such a bird, nor the legend of the Thunderbird. The day started out pretty normal. We had our shotguns and tracked the woods for a couple hours. Can I just say how dumb turkeys are? They pretty much lead you to them. Anyways, we found a group of turkeys and shot maybe 2 or 3 of them. As we placed our newly caught dinner into this carry sack, we started our way back to the truck. This was around 2 p.m. or so, as it was a beautiful day out. That's when we noticed something in one of the trees near us. As we walked back, the closer we got, the more confused we became. The tree had to be about 50 feet tall, and about 30 feet up, just hanging from one of the branches, was a badly torn apart carcass of a deer. Even my dad was confused. I was like, how the hell did it get up there? So my dad, looking around scratching his beard, says, Bobcat? Maybe? And I was like, Dad, there's no cat that size can carry a deer that high. Never gonna climb that high. So then he said, maybe a hunter had to stand up there and then brought it up there. I just looked at him, and he looked at me and said, I honestly have no idea, Jamie. It was a bit nerving, to be honest, as both of us couldn't figure out how it had gotten up there, and to be in such terrible shape. I'm sorry to get graphic here, but the entire insides were torn out and most of the deer was missing. So we picked up our walk a little, and Dad, look. He looked up at the size of that bird. My dad looks up and says, wow, probably a turkey vulture. But man, that's a big vulture. But the dead deer is probably giving off a scent, so I just shrugged it off thinking my dad was right. Maybe it was nothing more than a turkey vulture. As we were nearing the path, this path opens up to a good-sized field. I look up and this bird is circling us. All of a sudden, we see a deer, maybe 200 yards or so away. And this bird we see it fly right down at it. I was blown away by the freaking size of this bird. It flew down, but I guess because of the sheer size and the sound of the wings spooked the deer. My dad and I both stopped in our tracks, knelt down. We watched this thing just sit there, cleaning its wings off for a few seconds. My description goes like this. I would say it had an 18 to 23-foot wingspan. It was all black with a white circle on its neck. However, it had a very sharp-looking beak and very sharp-looking talons. I would say this thing was a cross between an eagle and an Indian condor. As I've seen pictures of both, before anyone says, I mistook this bird for something else. I can tell you right now, after watching many videos, pictures, this is no bird that normally flies our skies, and the wingspan itself was just massive. After several minutes of watching this thing, it eventually flew off, but not without a great deal of struggle. Even the sound of those wings from 200 yards away was really loud. I don't care if anyone believes this story. When I saw what I saw, that is not something I want to just make up. My question for you, Unexplained Films, what do you suppose I saw? Do you think I really saw a Thunderbird? And where do you think these things live? Thanks for sharing. Okay, this story is hard to believe, but I assure you that without a doubt in my mind, there is something living in the sewers of my hometown. Let me explain. There is seriously nothing to do in my hometown. Like, nothing. So you kind of have to make your own fun. Local sewers near my house, or rather drain off, or whatever you call it, is not actually raw sewage. It's just rainwater. Now yes, still gross, but the piping system is actually huge down there. So one night, a couple of friends and I had the bright idea that we would go down there and explore them. I'd say there's maybe 5 to 6 miles worth of pipes down there, and massive rooms. I actually still don't understand the reason for this. Maybe someone can enlighten me. Anyways, there's only one way in, and that's through the metal grate in the street. It actually takes 2 to 3 of us to lift it up and then close it. Luckily, the drop to the tunnel isn't that bad. So you get down there, and to your left and to your right, and it's very dark, long tunnels. During the summer, there's almost zero water, but during the spring, I would guess there are a few thousand gallons flowing through there, daily. The water eventually drops off into a pond there on the other side of town. So we get down there, and we just start exploring. We're just messing around when I hear something in the back of us. I was following behind, trying to tick-tock our shenanigans. I stopped and said, "Hey, did you guys hear that?" And everyone stopped and said, "Hear what?" I just shrugged it off at first, but then I heard it again. And that time, so did everyone else. It sounded like the noise a reptile makes when it hisses at you. If you ever owned a reptile, you know what I'm talking about. So everyone stops for a second and listens, and that's when my friend Ethan says, "Yo, what the hell is that?" I turn around to see, well, what I can only describe as an alligator. But it was standing on its hind legs, and it was massive. I can't begin to describe how big this thing was. The tunnel we were standing in was anywhere from 9 to 10 feet tall, ceiling to floor, but this thing had to kneel down. It also had very human-like arms. We all started to run, and this thing gave chase. It almost was on us when we caught sight of an opening in the street, or a pipe. We literally jumped out of the end of the pipe and ran into the woods. It didn't give chase as we looked back and it was gone. I'm sorry for the short story, but I will never forget that. Maybe it was someone in a costume, but why would someone go to lengths like that? Just to dress up in a suit, and they had extreme mobility in that suit. I don't know what I saw in those sewers, but it's something. So, everyone that witnessed this event has their own interpretation of what actually happened. If they would like to share their story, they are more than welcomed. But this is my story, and this is what I saw. Back in 2017, I was aboard a fishing vessel off the coast of Alaska. Now, fishing life isn't the most glamorous, but it truly feels free while you're out there, and at times, you can rack up a pretty good living. This happened to my boat during a trip. It was early morning, Friday, November 10th, 2017. Even though these events took place so long ago, It feels like yesterday. We set our fishing net out around 10 a.m. Now, we typically drag our catch line for about 5 minutes, hitting as many schools of fish as possible. On a good catch, we catch anywhere around 50 to 100 fish, typically bringing our daily catch around 300 to 400 per day. We do pretty well for our boat. So, we're dragging our line when all of a sudden something snagged our line. Now, I have to make several things clear. We don't drag to the bottom, that's nearly impossible, so that takes away it snagging on anything at the bottom. And even if it was a rock or something, we would catch it on sonar. However, when I looked, I was shocked. It looked like we had snagged our boat or something, but the thought is impossible. So I stopped the boat and looked out. And one of my crew came running to me. Cap, look, look! Just about 30 to 40 feet away from the boat was a shark fin. Now, it's not rare at all to catch great white here and there. Being out in the ocean since a wee lad of 10, I know almost every fish, but something was off about this fin. It had to be standing around 6 to 7 feet tall. So I run to the wheel and push at full speed. Nothing. This thing was still dragging us. I made the quick decision, lose my boat or lose my catch. So I yelled, "Cut the lines! Cut the lines!" The men quickly did as I asked, and once they did this, the boat came to rocking, stopping motion, almost knocking us all down. I just stood there, starboard side, scratching my head. What the hell? But that's when another crew member said, "Look! Oh, look at the water!" At that very moment, I witnessed something that will haunt me to this day. It was a shark, but it was massive. It swam right under the boat. If I had to make a guess, I would put on the scale of 50 to 60 feet. It was huge. If this thing wanted to, it could completely devour my boat. Several years after that, I looked up, just out of curiosity, what I saw, and again, I'm haunted because the only thing that comes close to what I saw was Megalodon. And yes, you heard me right. Megalodon. Well, all my haunted followers, guys, I hope that you enjoyed all those stories as I did. I love the Thunderbird story. Of course, I love the Thunderbird story. I'm obsessed with the Thunderbird. To answer your question, I don't know. I did a story a couple months back about the Thunderbirds. I don't know where they live. And, a bird that size, for it to take flight, it is said that these birds, because they're so big, they have to catch thermals. Thermals are warm air higher up in the sky for them to glide. So it's very possible that they live somewhere high. I would assume some type of mountains location where they can catch these thermals or catch flight. I've seen a bald eagle, and a bald eagle has a wingspan of about 8 feet, and it was in my backyard. This goes a couple years ago, and it was almost impossible for this thing to take flight. And that's an 8-foot wingspan, never mind a 25-foot wingspan. I couldn't even imagine. So that's what I think. I think they live somewhere in the high mountains. That's why we don't see them as much. The story about Megalodon blew me away. That was actually just got sent to me, guys. No more than 2 hours ago. Josh, thank you so much for sending that story, and that is crazy. And I truly believe that you did see something. Many times we believe that a creature or species goes extinct, to come to find out that it's not extinct. And this is very possible because we only know 5% of our ocean. You guys have to understand that. We only know 5% of the ocean. We don't know what's down there. So you very much could have seen Megalodon. I don't think a great white could have done that. I don't think a whale shark, again, what you mentioned, they're not aggressive. They don't show, obviously great whites are aggressive, but they don't have the ability to do that. Guys, thank you again for the stories. The story with the sewer monster and the white creature, I don't know what you saw. That's amazing. But I've also heard many stories of people experiencing that type of creature. The sewer creature was definitely another one that I have not yet to encounter or hear about. We don't, the sewer, we don't know what's down there. We don't. We only know so much about the sewers too, because we flush a toilet, or we just allow rain to go down there. We don't know what's down there because we don't go down there. So I fully believe you saw something. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed the stories. Please like and subscribe. Next, again, I am looking for alien abductions or encounters with extraterrestrials. I would love to hear your stories. And if you guys have a request to do something, let me know. I would love to do it. I can only do so much if I don't have stories for them. But I hope you enjoyed these stories. And as always, my friends, happy hauntings.